If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in and glad to have you along for the ride. LSU back on the practice field for spring football practice number 9. We'll hear from Joe Sloan, offensive coordinator, later on Tuesday. It's going to spark a little bit of our conversation here today as Sloan and Blake Baker head into year number 2. The LSU women's basketball team, they dispatched Florida State with a dominant second half, more specifically a dominant third quarter, record-setting third quarter, 101-71. They are off to their third consecutive Sweet 16. We'll give you a little bit of a brief recap, some thoughts on that ball game. And LSU baseball, they're back on the diamond Tuesday night at Alec Box Stadium, Skip Bertman Field. They will host cross-state rival ULL for their midweek contest before heading into a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series against SEC rival Mississippi State. So we have a lot to do here today on LSU Daily. Go ahead and get subscribed on your favorite podcast app. If you have not already, share the podcast. That's great. That helps immensely. Follow me on social media as well. Twitter X at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Facebook. Of course, I'm on Instagram as well. All of those things are greatly appreciated. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? And we'll start with LSU football. As you said, they're back on the practice field Tuesday morning for day number 9 of spring camp. I should say practice number 9 of spring camp out of 15. Joe Sloan meeting with the media later on Tuesday. And then Blake Baker, when LSU's back on the field again Thursday, Blake Baker will meet with the media after that session. So we get to hear from both coordinators here this week. And it got me thinking because Brian Kelly was asked after practice Saturday about both of his coordinators now going into year 2. Let's hear what Brian Kelly had to say and then offer some thoughts.
I think all coaches are always looking to, better themselves relative to experience, but the roster obviously makes a difference too. I think more than anything else is that as they go into year 2, they went through a year of understanding what our weaknesses were and what we need to be better at. And I think that's a great place to be going into year 2 is that let's address some of the areas that we weren't as good as we needed to be. And so that's been their mindset, and I think they've addressed it quite well. We've done it with the roster. We've done it with scheme. We've done it with technique work, adding coaches to both sides of the ball. I think all of those together puts us in a better position.
The year 2 conversation with Blake Baker and Joe Sloan is a really interesting one because, that was something that maybe we hand-waved away a little bit a year ago, that LSU was having to replace both coordinators. That is no small feat ever. Right? Like, ever. And it was 2 very different circumstances that you were replacing guys under. Obviously, Matt House, we know why he was out. It was a historically bad defense in 2023 that, really cost LSU a playoff run. And it was time for a change there. And you're bringing in Blake Baker, and everybody's fired up about that. You should be. Blake's got a nice track record early here as a defensive coordinator in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, all the things we talked about. We don't need to rehash that. Joe Sloan, on the other hand, was replacing Mike Denbrock, who had just led a historic offensive season that rivaled, didn't surpass, didn't equal, rivaled 2019. You had another Heisman Trophy winner, and now he's off. And you elevate Joe Sloan. And while Joe Sloan deserves a lot of credit for the development of Jaden Daniels, and Joe Sloan deserves a lot of credit for LSU's offensive success in 2023 as well, he was relatively inexperienced when it came to being a play caller and an offensive coordinator. And I think we just looked at it and said, well, man, Blake Baker had all this success at Missouri doing more with less. He can come in and immediately turn things around at LSU. And we said all the things that I just mentioned about Sloan. Well, look, I mean, he had such a hand in developing Jaden Daniels and whatnot. He called plays one year at Louisiana Tech. He'll slide in seamlessly. And that just wasn't the case. As the season went along, you saw improvement from LSU's defense. It wasn't marked improvement. It wasn't a complete turnaround like everybody wanted, but they were better than they were in 2023. It's hard to be worse, but they were better. But you saw just how depleted the roster really was from a talent standpoint, especially on the back end. You also had some key injuries, obviously, to Jacobian Guillory and Harold Perkins, and it forced some younger guys into action, and those guys acquitted themselves quite nicely. I mean, look at Devon Keys, obviously Don McKinley, Ahmad Bro. Like, those guys all did quite well. Offensively, well, you were replacing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You were replacing 2 1,000-yard receivers. A lot harder than we all made it sound. To boot, you had no running game. So going into year 2 and listening to what Brian Kelly says there, where every coach, is looking to improve year to year. Not just year 1 to year 2, but year to year. And they both went through a season where, get your feet wet, you go through it, and it's, okay, these are some things we didn't do quite well. These are things that we have to do better, and they know that. But it's the end of it that's the most important. Where LSU went out and addressed it, talent-wise with the roster, as Brian Kelly said, technique-wise in some training, adding coaches to the roster as well. It's those things that flip the script here, hopefully, for LSU. Obviously, you've gotten more talented, and you're seeing that already in spring camp. Like, the defense is playing better, and the talent is flashing more than it did. You have a long way to go before you open the season August 30th against Clemson. Long way to go. But the early returns are good. I love the coaches you were able to add on defense if you're LSU, not necessarily to your on-field staff, but in the analyst roles. Because they had ties to Blake Baker, they had ties to Louisiana. So you're just bringing in more people familiar with what he wants to do. Same kind of goes offensively. I mean, you went and got weapons on the outside now. Your running back room is reloaded. You have a dynamic player back there, two dynamic players back there in Caden Durham and Harlem Berry. You got Nuss the weapons on the outside. Now he goes into year 2 as a starter, working in Joe Sloan's system. That's huge as well. But again, it's the coaches you added, like Alex Atkins, who should really help LSU in the running game, and it gives you really a second offensive line coach. Yes, he's listed as the tight ends coach, but having both him and Brad Davis on staff, that helps. It wasn't just that LSU went out and, got Nussmeier weapons. They went out and retooled things to set their coordinators up for better success in year number 2. And now we steamroll towards that and get to see it. But it was something that we hand-waved away a year ago. And again, it was very easy to do so because you were just so happy to get Matt House out of there, and you're looking at what Blake Baker did at Missouri, and it's like, he's got this. No problem. He had great success his first stint at LSU too. No problem. He's got this. But we discounted all the other problems that remained that weren't Matt House. And again, same thing with Joe Sloan, where it was, he was part of the success in 2023. He'll slide right in seamlessly, when really he'd only called plays 1 year. Now with that year under their belt, you can expect marked improvement here in year 2, just like you do from LSU coming off of 2024 as a whole, going into the portal, getting everything they got. You expect marked improvement. You can expect the same thing from LSU's coordinators. And if it's not there, then yeah, you start to have tough conversations once again. And I'll be honest, I think the one to watch most is Sloan. Just because LSU's issues on offense and running the football really held the unit back. And it was something that they just weren't really committed to throughout the year. You're going to have to see something different there. I'm expecting better things from the defense. I'm expecting better things from the offense. But I think I do have more keen of an eye on Joe Sloan and the LSU offense at the start of the season to see if they can get that running game back in lockstep with where it should be at LSU. We'll obviously pass along any noteworthy things that come out of the media availabilities from Joe Sloan, from Blake Baker here throughout the week on LSU Daily. So again, get subscribed, stick around for all of that. We'll switch gears here. We'll talk some LSU women's hoops momentarily as Kim Mulkey has her Tigers on the way to a third consecutive Sweet 16. They will play NC State on Friday at 6:30. But how did they get there? They got there by dominating a really good offensive Florida State team in the second half. First half was back and forth. Florida State has the leading scorer in the nation. Laston, she scored the first 10 points for Florida State in the ball game, as a matter of fact. Scored 16 in the first quarter. And the first quarter was very much a game of runs. The first half was very much a game of runs, back and forth. LSU had an 11-0 run. LSU had a 7-0 run at one point as well. Florida State responds in kind, and LSU goes into the locker room up 50-49, 1 point. You saw great first halves from Michaela Williams, Flau'jae Johnson, your usual suspects. In the second half is where the game completely changed, and specifically in the third quarter. LSU outscored Florida State 31-6 in the third quarter. Started it with a 9-2 run, and ultimately you were up 20. So 31-6 quarter, 22-2 run to end the quarter and take an 81-55 lead into the fourth, and you never looked back. The real story of the game, though, you can look at Michaela Williams and her 28 points, and she was awesome. She was perfect from three-point land. You can look at another solid outing from Flau'jae Johnson. You can look at yet another double-double from Anissa Morrow, 26 and 11. But the story is Samaya Smith. Samaya Smith was absolutely incredible and turned in the game of the year for her. Double-double, 20 points, 12 rebounds, added 6 assists. And that's really what I want to talk about, because while the third quarter was awesome, it was record-setting, seeing a performance like that out of Samaya Smith here in the NCAA tournament when she hasn't had a game like that all year is very encouraging for this team going forward. Because that could be a real missing link, a real missing piece for this team that maybe clicks in. If you can get production not equal to that, because, look, the sample size kind of is what it is. You're not going to expect that, but you get something toward that, in that realm, like consistent performance out of Samaya Smith, that could be the catalyst for a huge run. LSU, you have to make up for it somewhere. They don't have a true point guard. So you're going to have to make up for it somewhere. And now, look, you're going to go face NC State. You've beaten this team already this year, albeit in November. It's a long time ago, and things have changed. But you won that game on a neutral floor, and you won it pretty handedly. You'll face them again on a neutral floor. Kim Mulkey talked about heading into that Florida State game if the team was clicking at the right time. She said she hopes so. Because, man, you start playing right at, down the stretch here in the tournament. You got the energy that this team definitely has, and you never know what could happen. Looking at somebody like Smith turning in that performance to go along with Flau'jae, to go along with Michaela Williams, to go along with Anissa Morrow, that makes this team a whole lot scarier for the rest of the field to deal with. They could be heating up. We'll get our answer Friday night when they face NC State in the Sweet 16. They win that, they'll be off to their third straight Elite Eight, where they would play either UCLA, who's a 1 seed, or Ole Miss, who's the 5 seed. But one thing's for sure, that was as impressive as a win in the round of 32 as you can have if you're LSU, because that was a really, really, really good offensive Florida State team. I mean, their pace was top 10. It was ahead of LSU's. Where LSU did hold a little bit of advantage was the rebounding. When they forced shots, missed shots, LSU was able to grab them, and even on the offensive glass as well. So, great win, and they'll move forward now and face NC State. And we'll keep an eye on Samaya Smith and the rest of the bench, because it wasn't just Smith stepping up. LSU's bench here in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament was incredible. And it wasn't just Gilbert, and that's who everyone thinks about because she's been the one all season on the bench. But it was others. I mean, you saw a great performance by Del Rosario in the first game. It's hard not to look at those 2 performances, opening and second round, and go, wait a minute. Are they finally clicking on all cylinders here this season, heading down the stretch? And you're healthy with Morrow and Johnson. Get ready. This could be a really fun run. It continues Friday, 6:30 against NC State. All right. LSU baseball, they're back on the diamond Tuesday night against ULL for midweek action. Then they'll welcome in Mississippi State for the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, week number 3 of SEC play. We'll focus in here on the ULL game a little bit. Look, the Cajuns, it's been a bit of a rough go for Matt Deggs and his squad. They're 11-14 coming in. They did just take 2 out of 3 from South Alabama over the weekend in conference play. Offensively, averaging about 5 runs per game, little north of that, 247 average on the mound. It's an ERA north of 5.59 to be exact. It's not overpowering stuff. More innings pitched than strikeouts. The one thing I will say is, offensively, though, and I'll borrow a line from Jay Johnson, it's chaotic. ULL creates a lot of pressure for the opposition. They've drawn over 100 walks on the season, which, keep an eye on that, obviously, with LSU. We're going to get into that here momentarily after we finish this brief little overview of the Cajuns. They lead the Sun Belt in stolen bases and stolen bases attempted. They're right up there in sack flies and things of that nature. They manufacture, they put pressure. They want to make it uncomfortable and kind of create chaos, kind of like what you've seen from LSU so far this season offensively as well. Connor Higgs is tied for the lead in the Sun Belt in home runs with 9. He obviously leads ULL there. 17 RBI as well, leads the squad. And then Caleb Stelly is the other guy to look at. Second on the team in homers, second at the team in RBI. Now, that's your look at the Cajuns. Let's talk LSU. So we'll talk pitching here. I'm assuming Jaden Newt is going to get the ball for LSU here on Tuesday night. Nothing has been officially announced, but he hasn't pitched since last Tuesday when he went in the starting role, went 4 innings, and was very good. Jaden Newt has been very good his last 3 outings, as a matter of fact. He's pitched 7 total innings in those 3 outings. He's walked just 3 and struck out 11. We know what this stuff is. Mid-90s fastball. He's got a good slider and kind of a changeup and a bit of a splitter as well. So a 4-pitch guy, highly touted out of high school, was a draft risk, dealt with some injuries, missed largely his first 2 seasons at LSU, and now is out there. He's got 9 appearances to his credit in college. Still very raw. But LSU, you are searching right now. You're searching for somebody who can come out of the bullpen on the weekend and throw strikes. Jaden Newt might be that guy. I'll be very curious to see how long LSU lets him go. If Jaden Newt goes 4 innings again and throws 57, 60 pitches like he did a week ago, you're not seeing him on the weekend. But if Jaden Newt is limited to an inning, 2 innings, and the pitch count is 25, 30, you absolutely could see him on the weekend. Here's what I would do. This is what I would do. This is what I hope LSU does tonight. While ULL struggled, obviously, that's a good program. They have good players. Like, we know that. It's a program that is just consistently in the NCAA tournament. They always play LSU close. Like, it's a good team. It's a good program. You should be in a position to play 9 innings tonight. Should. Not to say that you will, but it could happen. I want to see LSU get anybody and everybody possible on the mound. That includes Connor Ware. That includes William Schmidt. I know Jay Johnson had his quote on Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob a few weeks back, like, oh, William, I think his days of pitching on Tuesday are done for his career here. Well, they don't need to be. Kid needs mound time right now. I look at his performances so far in SEC play. I see an inning and a third where he was walked 5 and struck out 1. You don't get the benefit of the doubt to just sit and be ready for the weekend there. Same goes for Connor Ware. Same goes for Connor Binge, DJ Primo, all of them. Maverick Rizzi, get Chandler Dorsey an inning, do that. Whoever. Get them all back out on the mound. I would love to see LSU go a pitcher an inning. Throw a new guy each inning. Give Newt the start. If he has a great first, awesome, sit him down. Let him get ready to make a debut for you on the weekend and see if he can't be a guy going forward for you there as well. And then just start it. Go ahead. Connor Ware, William Schmidt. Give me DJ Primo. Give me Connor Binge. Give me Jacob Myers. Give me Chandler Dorsey. Cooper Williams. I think that was 8. You might have had one more in there. Pick whoever you want to throw out there. Let's see what they got, because you're looking right now for anyone to elevate their game and show you, hey, coach, I can throw strikes. And I understand a midweek game is a lot different than the SEC. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But right now, that doesn't matter. Who can throw strikes over the plate? That's what you're looking for right now. And then when you find that, then you can really start to refine the strikes. Because here's the deal. Connor Binge and DJ Primo, they threw strikes over the weekend. The problem is the command in those strikes wasn't always great, and some of it got hit. Binge hung a slider. Okay, got hit over the fence. That stinks. But he's a guy with great stuff, and if he's throwing it over the plate, I want to see more of him. And then you can work on command, the quality of the strike, right? Going forward. But first and foremost, LSU needs guys who can throw strikes because it's hard to hit. So that's what I want to see. I want to see 9 different pitchers or 7 different pitchers tonight. However many innings you get to play, I want to see that many pitchers in the ball game on Tuesday. The only people I don't want to see throw are your starters, Kason Evans and Zach Cowan. Throw everyone else. Might make the game take a little bit longer. I don't care. You need guys who can throw strikes. And you don't know who all of them are consistently yet. So they all need mound time. And the only way to really work through that is with mound time and in a real game. So throw them out there. Offensively, I'm curious to see what LSU does with the cleanup spot. Josh Pearson has really struggled in SEC play out of that cleanup spot. You've seen Ethan Fry take it whenever he's been in there in DH. But you look at Jake Brown. Jake Brown in conference play is leading you in RBIs, hitting over 300. Is he potentially an option there? This is kind of the one change I'm looking for potentially in the lineup going forward. And then Stephen Milam as well. I know Milam, stature-wise, doesn't look like your leadoff. He does look like a leadoff guy. Doesn't look like your cleanup guy, but that's a physical bat and a physical presence actually in the box. He's second on your team in RBI in conference play and hitting over 300. So those are really the 2 guys outside of Ethan Fry, because Fry's been given that role. Plenty, but the RBI have lacked there really for Fry, especially in conference. So I'm curious to see if Brown and or Milam don't get a crack at it tonight, or on Tuesday, I should say, and then head into the weekend maybe carrying some momentum in that spot. LSU will face a familiar foe when they match up with the Cajuns on Tuesday. That is lefty Andrew Herman for the Cajuns. LSU faced him a year ago in Houston. He started that game, went 4 2/3, held LSU to 3 runs, only 1 hit. He walked 5. That was the issue, but he did strike out 8. It's a great changeup. That's what Herman really features. It is a really, 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 really good changeup. So that's what you'll see out of him tonight. He's figured in very prominently on the weekend for ULL out of the bullpen mainly. He did throw 5 innings of relief on Friday, so I wouldn't expect him to go very far, but just a quick note there. You've seen him before. The changeup's the best pitch. It's really good. And again, a season ago, you managed one hit off of him in 4+ innings. The command was all over the place. So he walked 5 guys. We'll see what Tuesday night holds for Herman as he gets his second career start against LSU. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Y'all smash that subscribe button, share the podcast, follow on social media, and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.